friends are having a great time. It's not face to face, it's all online. We're all in our homes, miles away. Love them like my family, what can I say? My crafting show is on, it's my time for me. Laughter, tips and tricks, this is what I need. We're here to have fun, we're all in the zone. When crafting with friends, you're never alone. Don't call or text me, it's about to begin. I've been patient, time for me to chime in. Comfy clothes on, feeling just fine. I'm busy right now, it's crafting show time. My crafting show is on, it's my time for me. Laughter, tips and tricks, this is what I need. We're here to have fun, we're all in the zone. When crafting with friends, you're never alone. Let's have a good time. Ooh, time to get our craft on. Ooh, time to have fun. Ooh, time to feel good.
Hey gifted crafters, welcome back for another Saturday CrafterNoon. Thank you all for tuning in today. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Nancy and this is our Saturday CrafterNoon show where we craft with all kinds of friends. And I want to thank you guys for just being here. So I'm tuning in from South Florida, but it's usually sunny here and it's a really rainy day today, so we're a little bit wet down here. The rain is coming down and I'm just hoping that we don't have any technical issues, but so far so good. But thank you guys all for tuning in. I see a bunch of people on the chat. We had a couple early birds out there, which is nice. Alrighty. Oh, I see Donna's had some, oh gosh, tornado warnings. Ouch. Yeah, Donna, stay safe. I hope everything works out well. Awesome, awesome. I see a bunch of people out there. Let's just jump right into it because we've got a lot to cover today. Let's say hello to some people I see out there. Hey to Bernardo. Hey, Boricua Sonia Crafts. There's my sister Jeanette. You've got Donna Woods, Francine, Linda. I see 1 Minute Tips, Quilt Wench, Robin's Quilt Basket, Sassy, Linda M. Thank you guys all for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And Francine, I don't know if I missed anyone else out there. Sorry if I did. I am continually checking the chat, so I will be looking out for any comments or questions that you guys have for me. But again, if you're tuning in for the first time, this is our Saturday CrafterNoon show, and we talk about all things crafting, from knitting, crocheting, embroidery, decoupage, sewing, quilting, so much more. We just kind of capture any kind of craft, and we like to kind of try it a little bit on there. So I hope that you guys really enjoyed today's show. I do have a couple of things to announce today, but also before we get to that, For those of you that know me, on the weekends, we always tackle our holidays. I'm a holiday girl, and I like to kind of, look at some holidays that are maybe not on your calendar. So let me give you a quick rundown on what those are. So today is National Scrapbooking Day. So if you are a scrapbooker, this is perfect day for you. It is also National Textile Day. So a perfect day to kind of get into your craft room, maybe go through that fabric and see, if you need to reorganize, maybe there's some, textiles that you have in your craft room that you haven't touched in a while, or maybe that you even forgot you had. It is, and this is really important, National Fitness Day. Guys, we need to stay fit. We need to stay happy, right? You gotta kind of stretch it out. I know we're in our craft rooms all day, but try to, give a little wiggle, maybe pop in a little CD, do a little dance, and you'll be all good, right? Alrighty. We also have coming up Cinco de Mayo is on Monday, so can't forget that. And we've got a Mother's Day holiday coming up on May 11th. So I'm only mentioning that for those that are doing maybe some handmade items, maybe some projects, or maybe you have some, you're selling on an Etsy shop or maybe in a craft fair. We've got that holiday coming up, so you may want to think about what you can present or what you can offer for all kinds of clients and friends that are out there. So couple of holidays to think about. So let's get to the announcements. First off, and some of you may already know, I see a couple of people on here that have been on with me during the week. We started the Gifted Crafters morning show. And it's Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m. If you guys haven't tuned in, we have a lot of fun there. We even supply snacks on our virtual food truck. So that's always a lot of fun. And, we have a great time it's an early morning show. So you can kind of grab your coffee and, just kind of sit in your little cozy spot. And we have a lot of fun. It's very different from our Saturday CrafterNoons. We keep it really light, give you some news, and we have all kinds of different segments. And, it's just something to kind of start off your day and get you inspired and get you going. So I hope that you enjoy that. If you haven't caught it, you can also catch the replay. We've got that available. And, we started it off, like I said last week, it was going to be a pilot. It's going to be a test to see how it does. And we were pretty happy with the response, and looks like we're going to keep it going. So looks like we really had a great time with that. Hey, Robin's Quilt Basket said it's a great morning show. Awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. The food truck was a hoot. I'm glad you like that too. So, we're going to still have our Saturday CrafterNoons. I'm not going to stop that. Because we go into probably a little bit more detail on some stuff here, but the morning shows are a little bit more, to kind of get you going and get you inspired and get you thinking and, keep you up to date on what's happening in the crafting news out there. You just never know what we're going to have. We're going to keep having different segments and change it all up, but I will try to bring the whole thing together to make sure you don't miss out on anything. But again, you can always catch the replay, so that's always out there. You like the variety of crafts that I share? Awesome. Well, I think you're gonna like our sessions then. Awesome. And Jenny says, Miss Nancy, hi and happy Saturday CrafterNoon. Well, Jenny, you're kind of leading me into my next topic because I wanted to give a really big thank you to Jenny Owens, who bought me coffee. So I printed it out right here, Jenny. I'm going to be adding you over to my board of people who bought me coffee. And thank you. I really appreciate it. Sorry, my throat is kind of going up and down here. Thanks so much talking. I'm not used to so much talking during the week too. So, thank you, Jenny. I really appreciate it. This is really awesome. I've got you printed out here, so I'm going to be adding you to my wall. And for those of you that were interested, this is just a buy me coffee link. It's linked down below, and it just kind of helps me fund the channel to keep it going. And, you know, I really appreciate all of your support. So thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Okay, so that was, I think, our last announcement that I have. Just a recap on what we did last week. So last week we talked about fringe embroidery, and we did a little flamingo. So I just wanted to kind of show that to you. So we went ahead and we put it on a pillow. We did some piping, and we got some really pretty fabric for the back. It's a nice little envelope pillow, so it's easy to slip on and off for you to be able to throw it into the wash and get it cleaned, and just swap them out. So I just like the envelope pillows because I like to be able to change things up. Let's see. Oh, Jenny says, I really enjoy the morning show with Mr. and Mrs. Nancy. Love the food truck and love all the information you're providing all of us. Oh, thank you, Jenny. I'm glad you enjoy it. You know, it's a lot of work, guys. I have to say it is a ton of work, but we really enjoy doing it. And as long as we keep seeing that people are interested and love it, we're going to keep doing it. So, oh, you took photos of your lovely fully opened magnolia blooms. Oh, I plan on copying into the fabric and doing some slow stitching on fabric art. Nice. It's a way to enjoy magnolia blossoms. Well, you enjoy that, Donna, because that must be absolutely beautiful. Awesome. Okay, so this is the little fringe embroidery that we did, and then I just went ahead, I cut the fabric down to size and put it into the pillow with some piping. So it's ready to go to my mom's. So she wanted a pillow, so I made her the chicken, and now she's got the flamingo. So I'll be delivering that to her tomorrow. So these are going to be ready to go. Okay, so what do we have this week? Because we've got some stuff to talk about, and I thought that I wanted to first off show you something that I signed up and received in the mail. I know people are scrambling on where to find crafting supplies now that Joann's is closed, and there's a company called Wawak, and you can sign up totally free on their website, wawak.com. And you can get the catalog. They have a little catalog. They will send you to the house, and they've got tons of sewing. It's a sewing source catalog. They've got tons of things in here like threads, zippers. They got the zipper pulls here. If you're a bag maker, they have all of the little gadgets that you need to make the bags. There's tons of information in here. We've got rotary cutters. We've got all kinds of stuff. So it's a nice, little place that I was able to find that actually, you know, I can get some sewing supplies from. So I kind of really liked that. So, just another option for you. I'm not sure if they do. It just says that they have free shipping with orders $100 or more. So you do have to spend $100. So, you know, it's interesting, but I'm not sure on it. The pricing seems reasonable for some of this stuff. So, you know, just giving you another option that's out there. So you can kind of take a look at that. Okay, so what do we have for today? So today, I thought it would be nice to make a little block, and I wanted to use a couple of fabrics that I thought were kind of fun. I have a really simple black fabric, and I'm going to be doing some ladybugs today. And so I thought this was a really cute fabric, and this is what it looks like here. I thought that one was really cute, and it would go really nice together and complement with the black fabric. And you're wondering, well, what are we going to be making? And this is something that, you know, it looks very simple, but it can be quite a challenge to do. If you really want to do quilting with the precision that you need to do in order to compete and to submit quilts into some events, you know, you have to practice on being precise. And it is really, really difficult sometimes. And there's things that you can do to help challenge yourself so that you can become better and better at it. And so that's what I kind of wanted to do with myself. I wanted to challenge myself and really try to nail down the precision that you need for certain quilt blocks. And so I thought one that would be pretty simple to start with is just a square and a square. And this is what it looks like. Got a couple threads here on it. There we go. And as simple as it looks, it can be really quite challenging because you do have to kind of nail down these points, and it can be a little tricky. And so it took me a couple of times until I was finally happy with what I ended up with. I told you I have to say that I did rip it out at least 1 or 2 times until I really got what I wanted. And so I can tell you that what I did was, first thing that I did was I went ahead and I selected the fabrics that would complement each other, right? So we've got the ladybug and we have the black fabric here. Then the next thing that I decided to do was, because I wanted this to be so precise and I wanted the points to really nail down, I decided to starch my fabrics. And so I went ahead and I used the Mary Ellen's Best Press. I love the lavender scent, so that's the one that I use. But you have all kinds of different options out there for starches. You also have a couple that you can get from like Walmart, like Faultless, things like that, that are really good. But choose your favorite starch. And so what I did was I went ahead and I starched my fabric. I ironed them, make sure that I pressed them really well before I even begin the cutting process. And so once I had my fabrics all nice and starched, then I went ahead and I grabbed a good ruler. And this is where you have to become patient, because you need to really focus and make sure that your cutting is correct. Because if your cutting is not right, the rest of it will not be right. So you need to, start with starching, making sure that your fabrics will be nice and stable, give it a really good press, and then go ahead and look at your cutting technique and make sure that you are cutting as precise as you can. Now, I have to say, I was actually surprised that my cutting was just slightly off. There were like little feathers off, 1/8 of an inch off, and it could have been any little slip that I did, or if I wasn't really paying attention to the blade and I kind of went off a little bit, but if you really want to do like a show quilt and things like that, all of those things matter. Now, if you're just quilting for yourself, but you really want to hit those points, you also want to pay attention to those things, because they can throw off these things. And I know some of these things seemed a little trivial. It's kind of like, well, I can kind of skip the iron, or I just don't want to starch it. I'm not going to starch it. But they do matter. And at the end, I think after I did all of these things, I was pretty happy with the results that I got. And so I think it's really important to not skip those steps and just build it into your habit, so that becomes just part of your routine when you're doing a quilt. And so I went ahead and I just selected this fabric, and I went ahead and cut this out into a 10-inch block. And I did a couple of them just to have on hand, because I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. So I went ahead and just cut a 10-inch block, and then I took the black fabric and I did cut them out into 5-inch squares. And so I'll kind of do that with the rest of the material that's on here. And then anything that I don't use, I can go ahead and put it in my bin with all my 5-inch charm squares. So eventually it does get used up. So that's just a way to kind of go through your fabric, you know, and just kind of, you know, settle yourself with what the fabric is going to be, like what project you're going to be using it for, and then just go ahead and cut it all up so that you don't have it wasted off to the side, and just go ahead and use them, right? And so that's what I did here. I cut this up and I cut the 5-inch squares up. Now, there were a couple here and there that I found to be just a little bit wonky. So I'm going to try it again today, and we're going to see how far I can get. Like I said, I did do this a couple of times, and I did have to kind of undo it because I just didn't like where my points, they were just a slither off. And so I wanted to go ahead and redo this. So I have one made already. I'll probably make a couple more and just maybe make it into a table runner or something, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put this over to the side, and we're going to make one together. So just grab some fabric and let's get started on this, because I'm going to kind of go through this with you, and we're going to put this together. So I've got one here. Let me just move some of the stuff over to the side. Make some space. And there's a couple of tools that I did use that I found to be very helpful. So I did find this rotary mat. I have this OmniGrid. I do have the Martelli over there too. So any rotary mat that you have that kind of spins around really helps. If you do not have one, you can just put a smaller mat on top of the larger mat. That will work as well. So it just makes it a little bit easier. Unless you can walk around your table to do the cutting, it really helps you out to be able to kind of leave the fabric where it is and make the cuts and position yourself exactly where you need to be to make those cuts. Don't try to kind of maneuver your arm over here and cut over there, because even though you can probably cut it, your cuts are not going to be as precise as you really think they are, because your arm, your elbow, and your wrist are really not in the best position to make that precise cut. So keep that in mind when you're trying to kind of rush through some of these things. You really want to position your body in the right position to be able to make the cuts. Okay, I see a lot of people chatting away, and I don't see any questions, so I'm gonna go ahead and continue. So some of the items besides the mat here that I did use, I do have a Creative Grids ruler. This is what I use. It's a small one that I use to be able to mark fabrics, and this is especially when I am going to be marking a fabric that's going to require me to go from corner to corner. And so I like to kind of use this fabric. There's a couple different ways that you can use it to help you get that precision that you're looking for. I'm also, because we are using some dark fabric, I'm going to be using my chalk just to kind of draw out the lines and just to make it easier for you. But if you have your favorite marking pen and you're using a lighter fabric, you guys can use that. But I'm going to try using this one just to make it a little bit easier for you guys to see it. And then I do have a roller. This is something that I do like to use when I am kind of folding the fabric over and pressing it. So this is something I'll show you how I use this. It just helps me press those seams down and keep them where I want them. And then you have your basic rotary cutter and, you know, snips. Got my seam ripper on the side here just in case. We'll see if we need that. Donna says, when you are cutting quilt block pieces, all of those templates and rulers pay for themselves. Yes, they do. And I think it's really important that you have the right ruler for the right project. And I know some people are kind of like, oh, you guys are crazy. You have like 10,000 rulers. It's not that we like to collect rulers. It's you really need to use the right ruler for the right project. And sometimes we have them on hand and sometimes we don't. I don't necessarily have exactly the type of ruler that I would love to use right now. Like, for example, when I cut this 10-inch square here, they have rulers that you can just put right on top that's 10 inches, and I'd be able to cut all the sides without moving this around. That would be ideal because it would be less of a chance of you having any kinds of errors. It would help you to be more precise. And all of that, because you're not having to kind of lift the ruler and move the fabric around to then reposition it to make the next cut. So the less you move your fabric around, the less you have to lift up the ruler, the better chance you're going to have that you're going to have a more precise cut. So that's something to keep in mind when you're doing that. I have a ruler that I'm actually going to be using for this project. I actually got this from the Crafty Gemini. She's got a YouTube channel and she sells these rulers that she's designed. It's a 5 by 10 inch ruler. So this was kind of the perfect project for me to use for this specific project. Ideally, I'd like to have a 10-inch square ruler, but I don't have that. But the 5 by 10 worked out for me. So this is something that, you know, I had in my stash. So this is what I'm going to be using for today. Okay. Let's see. Donna says, my 12-inch square ruler made squaring up quilt blocks a breeze. Yes, yes. You know, and there's a lot of different types of rulers out there, but you need to really pay attention to the sizing that you're doing for that specific project. Try to get one that really works with your project on that. So let's go ahead and get started with this. Now, I've already cut this one out and I've cut out my 5-inch squares, and I'm just going to kind of lay them here just so I can show you what we're going to be doing here. So I'm going to be taking these 5-inch squares, and basically you're going to want to do right sides together, but since I'm using a solid, it doesn't matter for me. I'm going to go ahead and place it on the corner, and then I'm going to place the second one on the other corner. And I just kind of want to spin it around, make sure I get this here right on. And you want to try to make sure you get this right on the edge. So I should not see any of this ladybug fabric coming out from underneath. And if I were to flip this over, I shouldn't see any of the black fabric coming out as well. So it's right on top of each other. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab some of my pins here. And I think it's a good idea to do at least 3 pins. Now, some people may not even want to pin it, but you're going to run the risk of not being precise. So I'm going to go ahead and just pinch my little corner here, and I'm going to put the pin in and let it lay flat again. And then I'm going to do the same on each side. So I'll put 1 pin on each side, and I put 1 pin that's right facing this little tip right here. Now, you kind of have to be careful on this part, because once you start to sew this down, you're dealing with the bias, and the bias has a lot of stretch to it. So it could go wonky on you, which is why I recommend kind of putting in some pins for this, because it is difficult when you're dealing with the bias. So you want to be careful with that. So you're always going to want to pin that. Now, what I also do, and you probably could have done this before, I'm going to go ahead and draw the line corner to corner right on the fabric. And you're going to want to make sure that that is as precise as you can get it. So let me just open up my chalk here, get this a little closer. You could do this before you pin it. You could do it after, as long as it's not in your way. So I am looking at this corner to corner, and I'm looking to make sure it's very precise. And I'm going to go ahead and use the little chalk to draw my lines. I'm going to draw the other line as well, so you guys could see that. Can you see that? Yeah. You can see my pin is probably a little close right here, but I think I can get around it. And so I drew basically the way this little marker goes is instead of drawing the middle line from corner to corner, I'm actually drawing two lines that are exactly a 1/4 inch seam from that center. And so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sewing in the center, but that 1/4 inch is what's going to hold the whole thing together once I have it folded. So, you know, I can go ahead now if I wanted to draw that line, and I'm going to just draw it here for you guys so you could see here. There we go. Just draw the line all the way across. And you got to be careful, whoops, that your fabric doesn't move on you. Now, it's not really my favorite to do it with the chalk, but I think that was the best thing I could use for you guys to be able to see. And can you see that a little bit? It's kind of dusting off a little bit. Try to make that a little better, but let me see if I can just do it again so it could be a little darker so you guys could really see it. I mean, it is black fabric, so it's a little... There, I think that's a little bit better. So that is your middle line. That middle line is the one that you're going to be sewing on. Now, I have also drawn the two on the sides, and this is just going to help me when I bring it over to my sewing machine, because I'm using a 1/4 inch foot, and so it has a guide, so I'm going to be able to use the guide to kind of go right down this line right here, and it will sew exactly that 1/4 inch away. And then having all these lines drawn just kind of helps me visually kind of make sure that everything is exactly where I need it to be. So that's the first one here. Then you can just, you don't have to pin it while you're doing this. You can kind of have it off and then go back and pin it later. So we can do that as well. So let's try to get that going. And then all I'm doing here is just lining up the center, and then this little point here on the end is where I push right to the edge of the fabric. So I kind of like to have it closer to me so I could really see, since I'm not standing up. So I'm going to try to bring this in some more, line that up, and then line the other end where it's nice and centered. And then I'm just going to hold it down and draw the lines. And then hold that down, and I'll draw the other line. Now you want to also notice sometimes, because these rulers are really skinny, when you get towards the end, they have a tendency to kind of shift. So you may want to kind of go back and just double check that it did not move on you, because sometimes it does. And so you'll want to just kind of do it again and see how it kind of shifts a little bit. So if you have a little bit of pressure on it, that might help too. There we go. Yeah, see how that kind of shifted a little bit on me? And so now I'll just draw it right down the middle, because I've got my two guidelines, and I'll show you what I mean in just a minute. Okay. There we go. Okay. So we're going to do this, and then you're going to continue and do this on the other side. So eventually all four corners are going to have this. But this is how you're going to line it up. So we've got this here. And what you're basically going to be doing is you're going to be flipping this over here. So you want to make sure that your lines are positioned so that you can flip the fabric over once it's sewed. And so we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And I'm going to pin that in place. So let me line that up here. And then I'm just going to grab my pins, and I'm going to pinch here Let's get that in, and I'm gonna grab 2 more. Now, it is really pouring outside, guys. I don't know if you guys can hear that rain coming down. Not sure how it is wherever you guys are tuning in from. Okay, here it is. So we've got it all nice and pinned, and now we're just going to take it over to our sewing machine. So let's bring that over here. Let me move this over. And I'm going to slide my machine over here. Let me move this. Here we go. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and sew this in place. Let me just grab my little sewing foot that keeps running away from me. Alrighty. So let's go ahead. We're going to do this square first. And this is where now all of those lines that you drew kind of fall into place when you're using this type of foot. So this is a 1/4 inch sewing foot, and it has a little guide here on the end, as you guys can see. We've got our little sew cam up, so I hope you guys can see that. So this little guide is what I am going to line up right here, and then it's going to go ahead and stitch that 1/4 inch right in the middle. And so my eyes are basically not going to be on the needle, because the needle's just going to keep going up and down, so I don't want to watch that. What I want to watch is that my fabric stays lined up with this sewing guide right here, and then I'm going to just be glancing to make sure that it is hitting that 1/4 inch, right? Because if I deviate from that line, then it is going to be off. And so we're going to give it a try here. And let's see how we do. So I'm going to go ahead and line this up. Putting my foot down there. And let me just make sure I am lined up there. And let me just grab my sewing foot. That keeps running away. I think it moved to the other side now. Here we go. Okay. And you guys see that? Okay, great. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to do needle down. You can see it's nice and lined up. Looks like I'm ready to go. And I'm just going to try to keep it nice and slow and steady and at a really good pace. And just, you know, making sure that everything stays nice and aligned. So hold on, guys. This little foot is giving me issues today. Here we go. Okay. Now, I've got the camera kind of in my way, so I'm going to kind of be peeking around a little bit. So, let's see what happens. Now, you can see this is where my marking became a little bit wonky. So, I'm going to try my best to see if I stay on the right one. Awesome. Okay, lift up my needle, lift up my presser foot, and let me cut my threads. Then I can kind of dust off this line a little bit. And then you guys can see here where it is exactly where we want it to be. So nice little stitch here. So I'm going to go ahead and take the pins off. Okay. And then let's go ahead and just do the other side, since we have it here all ready to go. Okay. Oh boy, I can really hear that rain coming down. Kind of good. I think my plants needed it. Okay, so here we are. Hold on to these threads. Oh, I think I just took off my needle did get unthreaded. So let me just thread this real quick, guys. Oops. Kind of, the camera is kind of in the way here. And I pulled it again. And I can't really see. I'm gonna have to move the camera over for 1 second, so that give me a minute. There we go. Now I can kind of see what I'm doing here. It kind of gets a little difficult, but I really want to give you guys that camera angle. But it is kind of hard to do with it in front of you when you're really trying to get it going. Okay. We're having a hard time today. What's going on today? It's not liking me today. Okay, give me a second. I'm going to cut my thread a little bit. There. We're having a rough time today. I don't know why. Some reason we did. There we go. I think we finally got it. Wow. Must be the rain, right? Okay, I think we're good to go now. So let me try to bring you guys back down so you can see. Yeah, that's just about right. I think that's pretty good. Okay, so now let's get back to this. I wanted to kind of put my threads towards the back so it doesn't sink down for me. And then I'm going to go ahead, line this up again. With my little guide. And let's see, I think we're good to go. I do have a pin that's kind of in the way, so I'm going to kind of adjust this one and take it off for right now. Okay, here we go. I think that works a little better. And my thread still came back to the front, but that's okay. Okay, getting towards that end, and we want to hit that point. And there we go. Let's see if we hit that point now. Okay, looks like we did. So I guess we're good to go. So let's go over to our ironing board here. Taking off the pins. And we want to give it a good press. So let me move this over to the side a little bit, because we want to talk about that. So when we're pressing it, I'm going to go ahead and cut my threads here. When you're pressing it, you want to make sure that you're pressing it the right way. So people tend to forget, but the thread does take up space. So if you're really trying to hit that precise point and you have a thread here, threads do take up space. So when you actually flip it over, if you want it to be in a really exact position, you know, it can be hard to do. So what I like to do is I like to first just set my seam, which is basically just taking my iron, go ahead and iron it exactly as it came off the machine. Okay, so let me see here. My iron kind of got a little cold because it was sitting for a bit. So just give it a second. I feel like it's warming up. And you want to just give it a nice little press. Let it set the seam. Okay, I think it's good to go now. There we go. There. Now it's warm. So I like to kind of just set it down, set that seam, and then do the same thing on the other side. You always have to be careful when you start dealing with bias, you don't want to stretch your fabric and warp it by kind of ironing all over the place. So you have to be mindful of that. But then I'm going to take my little roller and I'm going to kind of flip this over. I'm going to first use my hands to kind of just bring down the fabric. And I'm going to use this roller to kind of press it down as well. This really does help to kind of set that and helps the fabric to kind of relax into the position that you're trying to put it on. So go ahead and do that. Now it's probably better if I do it on a flat surface. I'm going to move this over just a little bit. And we're going to scoot over to the mat here. And then I'm going to go ahead and press it down. Gives it that nice little finish. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. First using my fingers to get that fabric in here. And then I'll use the roller to help the fabric relax into that position. Then I'm going to take it over to my iron and I'm going to give it a good press. And you don't want to move your iron too much all over the place. You really just want to let the heat do its thing. Okay, then once you have that nailed down, then you're going to have your nice little fabric there. So it's already looking good. And I mean, you could even just go with this and make a pattern out of this for a quilt. But we're going to go ahead and do the next two. And I'm going to follow the exact same thing. It's just now we're doing it on the other two corners. And one good check that you could make when you do this, as you lay them down, you're going to want to look at the corners. You want to make sure that you line it up right. And I want to make sure that this corner is just touching this one just a bit, because then I know that I'm nice and lined up here, and I'm nice and lined up on here as well. So when I do make that diagonal seam and flip this over, it's really, as long as I do it right, the right way, and on that 45-degree angle, and the precision is good, it should flip over really nicely. Okay, so now we'll just do the same thing with the ruler here. I'm going to use the chalk, and we're going to just flip this right here. I'm going to go ahead and just draw the line corner to corner. And it's a little hard because I tend to kind of like to stand up so I can kind of see what I'm doing. So it's a little difficult doing it like this. But I really want you guys to be able to see what I'm doing and not the back of my head. So let's see how this goes. Now, probably using a pen is a lot easier, but whoops, I just kind of got this chalk all over the place. But for the camera, for you guys to be able to see, this is probably the best tool that I have on hand. So this is what I'm using. But ideally, if you have a marking pen, it's probably so much better, because the chalk kind of tends to get all over the place. So. Oh, Faker My Fake says, my mother bought me a 18 by 4 inch ruler, I think. She's had so many supplies for all types of crafting. She loves quilting, crocheting, knitting, and etc. Awesome! Yeah, I've got a couple of new items that I'm hoping come in. Probably will share them on Monday if they get here. So that's going to be a lot of fun too. Because I don't want everything to just be sewing. Oh, hey, Boniqua, so that's my sister. Oh, thanks for the super chat. You're so silly. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. So, we're gonna try this and see how it comes out. Now, hopefully I'm gonna hit these marks, you know, like we're trying to do this slowly, but like I said, I like to kind of stand up and look over to really get in there and see, but if I do that, you guys will see the back of my head, and I don't want that. So I'm gonna try it this way, and hopefully I get at least kind of close. So let's see. What I really like about this Creative Grid ruler, though, I like the little point that they have here on the end. If you guys can see that. See how it's kind of that triangle? It allows me to really bump this up all the way to the end, to the corner of that triangle. And so I can see that I'm actually on the edge here, and then I just line up the other side with the other end. So it helps me to really line it up better, I think, than just a regular ruler. Let's see here. Make sure I'm good here. All right. Here's a little line. Then it's going to be a little hard on this side, but let's see how we could do this here. The other thing I notice is when I get to the edges, it just, you know, it tends to want to move. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the line in the middle. Here we go. Okay. All right, it got my 3 lines. And let's do some pinning now. I'm going to go ahead again, make sure that this is covering. There's no white fabric coming out from the ladybugs. Give it a pinch. Go ahead and put my pin in there. And then do the same thing on the 2 other sides. And again, the reason I'm doing 3 is because you can kind of pinch just this corner, but these sides can kind of move around on you, and you don't want that. So it's always better to kind of just pin all 3 sides. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other end. And you're going to want to check these to make sure these are good. These off just slightly. Here we go. Grab some pins. And one more pin on this end. Grab some fabric there. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we've got our pinning done. Nice and complete, and we're ready to go ahead, come back to our sewing machine, and let's get this thing finished here. Let me bring this back over. Okay. Let's grab our threads, throw them to the back, and again, using my little guide, lining this up as best I can. Here we go. Okay, so for the sew cam, can we get the sew cam? He's getting distracted. He's not doing his job. Okay, so the sew cam is up. Now you guys can see I've lined it up with my little gauge there, and I'm going to go ahead and sew this down here. And guys, you go as comfortable as you can. Some people tend to sew really fast speeds. Some like to do it really slow. You know, you do what's comfortable for you. This is not a race. You don't have to go really fast. I sometimes tend to sew fast just because I do. But I try to slow down whenever I can. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the next one here. And bring this down. Again, lined up with my gauge here. It's going to hit that 1/4 inch mark right down the middle. So it really does kind of help. And sometimes you may go off just a little bit. So you do have to kind of keep your eye there. Okay. Alrighty, so let's see what we got. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. And let me bring that over, and I'm going to remove the pins here. They've done their job. And then we're going to take a look at this. So of course we got the little chalk, which that will come off with some water, no big deal. We've got some threads to cut here. Okay, got my roller here, and the first thing I want to do, of course, and let me move this over just a little bit so you guys could see a little better. There we go. We're going to go ahead and set the seams. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead with my hands and just kind of flip this over. There we go. Grab my roller, and I'm just going to go ahead and press it right here on the wool mat. Ideally, you want a flat surface, but I'll go ahead and leave that. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit that with the iron. And then I'm going to turn this over and do the same thing on this side. So this side's looking really good. And then let's go ahead and do this side here. Now this one is a little slightly off, I can tell, just a tad, but not too bad. Must have gotten distracted. Okay, so now the last thing that we have to do is you've got all this bulk in the back, and you can't have all that bulk, so we want to get rid of it. So we're going to go ahead and grab our little mat here, and I'm going to grab my rotary cutter and my ruler, which I've misplaced. Here we go. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take that black fabric and expose those seams again, just temporarily. We're going to bring this over, and I'll just do the whole thing like this. There we go. Just kind of want it out of the way a little bit, and I'm going to take each square and I'm going to line up my ruler at the 1/4 inch seam allowance. Just line it up right on your seam, and then you're just going to cut off the excess piece here. So make sure you're nice and lined up here. And then go ahead and cut that piece off. Okay, and do the same thing on each of the corners. There we go. Again, I prefer to be standing up so I can kind of see what I'm doing, but for you guys, this will be good enough. Okay. And all this excess fabric that you're cutting off on these triangles could be used on a different project. There we go. Okay, so we've got all these triangles, and you can find another use for it, so that's awesome. And then I'm just going to bring this back over to my ironing board and give it a final press. There we go. You just want to press it out. Make sure it's nice and flat. If you have a clapper, this is a great time to kind of just bring it out and set that seam. And there you go. You've got your square in a square. And so now you can kind of bring these together. You can do a nice little border going around it and make a little tablecloth with it. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can make with these, but these are really fun projects to do. And it's really a nice way to really practice hitting that precision mark. I'm pretty happy the way these came out. I don't know if you guys could see it really well, but I'll try to do it this way. Maybe you guys can see it. I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, it's a nice way to practice that, and it's a really quick and easy little project that you can do while you practice your precision. So that's about it, guys. I hope you guys really enjoyed it, and there's a lot of fun things that you can make with these squares in a square. There's tons of designs and quilts that you can do. So I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Let's see. Yeah, I've got some comments in there. Looks great. Love that. Awesome. And you can do it with all kinds of different fabrics, you know, that really can help the colors pop out and they'll look really, really nice. Donna says she has small scraps from the jewel box quilt. Oh yes, perfect. You plan on sewing them together to make a patchwork quilt to match the quilt. Nice. You can even make little pillowcases, right? That'll go with that. That'll be awesome. Awesome. Great. Well, thank you guys all for tuning in. I really enjoyed this session, and I hope you guys learned and got a couple of tips that you're able to use for your future projects, because I would really love to see what you guys are working on. So please go ahead and drop them in our Facebook group, because I want to see what is going on in your area and what you're doing. So please go ahead and drop into our Facebook, and you know, let's just kind of keep our community going, because it seems like we're growing, and I'm really excited about that. And I'm just going to keep creating and doing more content and including you guys, so you can see how I do things step by step. And maybe, you know, you guys can throw some tips my way too, because I really love to learn from you guys as well. So thank you guys again for tuning in, and I hope to be crafting with you soon. Bye everyone.
Nancy with GiftsHQ makes crafting videos, creating with passion and a love for what she sews. Crochet, quilting, and sewing, crafting is what she knows. Making smiles one craft at a time. Your talent will grow with every stitch and every thread. She weaves her art, her hands create something special straight from the heart. And as the colors come alive, the joy spreads near and far.